Well, hello everybody. George here with the Threefold Life podcast. As you know, one of the three values that drives us as a community is the value of liberty. Faith, liberty, and charity. The three forces that, when working together, um, bring and advance the kingdom of God more than anything else in this world. So, today we're going to talk about one of those values and forces in the world, and that's the value and the force of liberty. Liberty has to do with many things. It has to do with God's will for us to be free, for us to be free human beings. This is God's best will for us. God's best will for every human being has always been for us to be free as human beings, to be free to worship Him, to be free to speak about Him, to be free to choose our own lives. But that is not the condition of the world today. The condition of the world is to suppress freedom. And Satan, through his power structures, always works to destroy the lives of people and to suppress them, to control them, to keep them not free. So today we're going to talk about an aspect of liberty that, yes, it has to do with the election of a politician, but it's really not necessarily a political issue. This is more of a society issue. This is more of a civic issue. And it's also a spiritual issue at the end of the day, because feminism is not a political movement. Even though it is a political movement, it's not. What's behind this political movement is a demonic force. And the demonic force seeks to tear apart the traditional family, to pit men and women against each other, and to try to bring the differences between men and women into the political arena where it doesn't belong. The difference between men and women can be worked out in many different ways, at the individual level, at the family level, at a community level, at a church level. There are so many different mechanisms where whatever differences need to be worked out can be worked out and should be worked out, not by politicizing it. Because politics really has to do with power at the end of the day. Politics is about power. So, feminism promises political power to women to acquire what they claim is their own or belongs to them. And it pits power against power. It pits the power of men against women, and it hasn't really brought anything good into this world. And today we have another milestone in the global epic uncovering of the deception of feminism, because it claims to empower women, to be good for the well-being of women, but it's really not. It's just really behind it. There is a satanic, demonic force seeking to destroy the traditional family. And today we're going to expose that, this feminist movement and feminism. So on October 21st, which is yesterday, as of the recording of this episode, Japan made history and elected Sanae Takaichi as its first female prime minister, which shattered a political glass ceiling in a nation that's ranked 118th out of 148th in the 2025 Global Gender Gap Report. So, big gap report, in other words. So only 3 years before that, on October 22nd, Italy celebrated a similar milestone with Giorgia Meloni becoming its first female prime minister. These landmark achievements should have been a cause for celebration among feminists worldwide, and they should have heralded the rise of women to the highest echelons of power in traditionally male-dominated societies. But the response from Western feminist publications and organizations has been embarrassingly muted or critical or outright silent. This reaction, mirrored in both cases, by the way, exposes a troubling truth. Modern feminism often prioritizes, I should say all the time, prioritizes leftist ideology over genuine support for women's advancement. This is a pattern, and it becomes evident only not only after these historic elections, but there's other glaring failures to defend women's rights globally. And so basically, feminism is not about women's rights at all. It just uses that language, and it's a fraud. Feminism is a fraud. It's using the language of fighting for women's rights, but it's really pushing a satanic, globalist, leftist agenda. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Japan's prime minister. This was a monumental step forward for Japan. It's a country where women hold just 10% of the parliamentary seats, and gender equality lags far behind much of the developed world. So her rise to a prime minister, it should be like the feminist triumph, right? Similar to Giorgia Meloni's 2022 victory in Italy, in a nation ranked 79th in gender equality at the time. It should have marked a significant breakthrough, right? These both women ascended to power through grit and determination. No one handed it over to them. They navigated conservative political landscapes to come to a place of prominence to lead their nations. But instead of applause, what do you think Western feminist outlets like the Miss Magazine and Jezebel and Bustle and Glamour, they offered no praise whatsoever. The Guardian and the New York Times, oftentimes very vocal on feminist issues, acknowledged the historic nature of both elections, but quickly pivoted to criticism. For Takaichi, the focus is on her ultra-conservative policies. Man, that sounds like music to my ears. Ultra-conservative policies, that's what they call them, right? So her appointment, they also criticized her appointment of only 2 women to the 20-member cabinet. So they're not going to celebrate the election of a female president, which should be a big deal, right? A prime minister, which should be a big deal. No, let's find something to criticize her over. And I guess they would have been happy if all 20 members in the cabinet were females. Maybe that would have cut it. Who knows, right? Another big sin in Takaichi's candidacy in the eyes of the New York Times is her traditional views on gender roles. Wow, that's a big deal, right? It's worth criticizing and throwing under the bus. For Meloni, the condemnation was even sharper. She was labeled as a neo-fascist because she took a hard stance against abortion, against LGBTQ plus whatever rights, and against immigration. Feminist.org barely mentioned either of those women. And when they did, it was just in passing, no celebration. And on platforms like X, feminist voices declared both women as setbacks for women's rights. Some called Takaichi's election a tragedy and Meloni a danger. So what's with the lack of enthusiasm? Both Takaichi and Meloni are conservative. Takaichi with her nationalist leanings and Meloni with her traditional family rhetoric. Their ideological clash with the progressive orthodoxy of Western feminism, which seems to demand that women in power align with their leftist values to be worthy of praise. That's it. If you're not a leftist, they're not going to praise you. Their selective support simply reveals a stark hypocrisy. The feminist movement claims to champion women's advancement, but only when it suits their political agenda. Thanks for watching. Tune in again the next episode of our podcast as we discuss the advancement of God's kingdom through the power of faith, liberty, and charity. I'm George Bacaloff, your host. I look forward to hearing from you through our website and on social media, where we follow and monitor responses as they come in.